Today we have been playing a ton of Mario and Luigi Brothership, and we're here to tell you what we think. There are some polarizing opinions about
Spuggly
this game.
Spugliacci! That's how I wanted to start this episode. Yes, this is a fascinating game that has really split its player base into
really
people who
has.
really love it and think it's the next great thing in this franchise that has been away for so long, and this other group of people who are really not feeling it. And it's fascinating, and I'm curious to see which category we put ourselves in,
Exactly.
because we might have a bit of a schism ourselves.
Exactly.
But we're going to talk about everything we're feeling about playing this game over its first weekend.
Yes, exactly. It is very interesting. This is the first time that I can remember in a long time where a Nintendo game has had such a split opinion. Usually it's like, oh, we all can agree on a couple little things that we didn't really enjoy, and the majority of people really love it. But this one is truly like you're on one side or the other side. It's very fascinating.
Yes.
So let's talk about it, shall
Can't
we?
wait to jump into that.
Yes.
Did want to point out, though, Nintendo did its big direct on the Donkey Kong Country edition to Super Nintendo World. We did a reaction to that. That is up on the channel if you would like to check it out. We found the hidden Pikmin. Maybe there are more that we missed. I don't know.
Probably more. Yes, I saw a disturbing looking hot dog. We saw about 10,000 bananas, I believe. But it was great. You saw Mr. Miyamoto giving the little tour of the new area, and I guess it's opening in December in Japan, and also next year at the Orlando Super Nintendo World. So yeah, that's something to look forward to if you're planning on vacation.
I did get an important clarification on the hot dog. I got a hot dog clarification.
Oh God, what is it?
It was pointed out that that topping thing on the hot dog is not avocado mayonnaise. It's avocado cheese, which is still a strange combination. I can't say I've seen a lot of that. But I might have to take a second look at this hot dog now.
I really don't think Donkey Kong would be caught dead eating that. Why would he eat that?
Put the banana in the hot dog bun, I dare you.
Yes, obviously. Why was there 3 Dorito chips as part of that
3
meal?
and only 3.
3 and only 3. No more, no less.
Yes.
Why was that? I'm very confused. But anyhow, other than the disgusting looking hot dog, everything else about Donkey Kong Country did look pretty awesome. So yeah, check out our reaction video.
What's your hype level to eventually go to that?
I'm pretty hyped. I love theme parks. You know this about me.
That is true.
I love theme parks. And so anytime there's like a new addition to a theme park, I'm all in. We have talked about how this is opening right around my birthday next year in Orlando. What do I have to do to
dropping these hints? Wow.
Drag you to on a birthday trip with me to Orlando, Florida.
I'd love to go. I do have this thought, this intrusive thought in the back of my mind about this, which is, I think for us, our community, it's like, it's really exciting. We love Donkey Kong. We're familiar with all the games.
Yeah.
But I just wonder, like, if you're, maybe a couple layers removed on that onion of, it's like, well, I kind of like games. I'd go to a Nintendo theme park, but would I want to spend that much time in a Donkey Kong only area? Yeah. I don't know how many people would raise their hand and say, yes, sign me up for that for 3 hours. Yeah. I just don't know. And maybe I'm wrong about this, but it's just a feeling that I have. And it seems like an awful lot to invest, a huge amount of space that they're putting into this.
Sure.
And I just don't know, especially when like the output of Donkey Kong games is so inconsistent.
That's what we were saying is like Nintendo, if they want to make Donkey Kong a thing, they actually have to like do some stuff.
You actually have to make a game
to make Donkey Kong a thing. And I don't know, maybe they're taking a different approach where this is the way in for new people to get introduced to Donkey Kong. And then eventually after that, there's going to be a game or something else. I mean, Donkey Kong was featured pretty prominently in the Mario movie. Maybe the next 3D Mario game, now we're in speculation zone for sure, but maybe the next 3D Mario game will feature Donkey Kong. I don't know. So maybe this is like, they're looking at it in a different way where the park is actually sort of priming versus the game priming the people to go to the park. Is the other way around. I don't know. But I agree with you that obviously compared to like a Mario Kart or a Mario, people, it's not the same volume of people that know about Donkey Kong and are excited about all the little secrets and things about Donkey Kong that they can discover at the park.
Yeah,
So.
I think that's the optimistic way to look at it, which is this is the beginning of a new era for Donkey Kong. We're going to take this serious. We're not going to have these 10-year droughts. We're going to put our best teams on this. That is the right way to look at this.
I love Donkey Kong.
But as of today, we can't say that definitively.
That's true. But let's hope and let's be positive about it.
Maybe it just means the line to get that Donkey Kong hot dog will be that much shorter.
Oh gosh.
Or the line to boop King K. Rool's tummy. Oh wait, he's not there.
He's not there.
He's not there.
But there is a Rambi. We were excited.
I'm excited about that. I asked you that. So you worked on Smash Ultimate. Like, what was the story with King K. Rool and that, and not anything else? And you're like, oh no, thanks. Great insight you gave me.
Licensing problems is the story of all the things that relates to problems with licensing.
Get Phil Spencer on the blower. Tell him we need a King K. Rool. I need an animatronic King K. Rool with his big jiggly tummy. I need it.
Oh, the jiggly.
He would do it. He'd be like, yeah, I want to do do that. Can I get the first ticket?
Definitely do it.
You can have it.
Can boop the first to boop.
Jeez.
Scan your little watch on the belly button.
Yeah. Yeah. We've got some great gameplay videos up on the channel as well. We've got one for the aforementioned Mario and Luigi Brothership where we're playing the first hour. We like to play the first hour. It's a good just like entry point into a game. You can't don't worry about spoilers. It's just the first hour.
Yes.
So we're checking that out. And then we have another one that's going to be out right around the time this podcast is out for Dragon Quest III HD 2D remake.
Yes.
The Switch version specifically.
Switch version, which you were really just tied in knots about because lovely Square Enix, thank you so much, gave us codes for Dragon Quest III HD 2D remake a bit earlier, so we got a chance to play a bit. Well, you and I have played the game on a PS5 and loved how beautiful it looked, and you were a little bit worried about whether or not the Switch version can hold up.
Don't spoil the answer to that.
I'm not spoiling. I'm just setting it up.
I got myself a definitive answer.
You did.
I am not Digital Foundry.
No,
I do not. I do not align with the Digital Foundry folks. But for myself and the way that
for you and how you play.
Yes, I got myself a definitive answer.
Yes.
So if you want to check that out, or you just want to see what happens in that game, check that video out.
I really like that game so far. We've kind of dabbled with the first few hours of that game multiple times. Now I'm excited to dig into this. Like it feels very like perfect and cozy. We were saying for like a Thanksgiving game, which is coming up, like a Thanksgiving break game. But the more I play this game, the more I'm like in on this game. I'm so excited to dig into it myself. I got the PS5 version, so
yes.
I'm going to be playing on that. But we can do a little compare and contrast later, which would be fun.
Oh, I can't wait.
Can't wait.
And then also, if you're catching up, a lot of people say like, "Oh my gosh, I got a backlog of your videos," or I don't know what I should watch next. If you haven't seen it yet, we did do a reaction to the Switch 2 backwards compatibility announcement, kind of delving into that of like why they do it now. What are the big questions that we have left for the Switch 2? So if you're trying to catch up, if you got a little backlog of yourself on Kit and Krysta videos, that's a good one to check out.
A lot of news in the last couple of weeks.
We have been reacting a lot the last 2 weeks or so.
There's just been a lot going on. And then I don't think it's going to slow down. You and I have both been feeling like, oh my gosh, the year is just barreling towards the end. But soon we'll be in like Game Awards season. We're kind of in it now, honestly.
We are recording tomorrow.
Yeah.
Our predictions for the Game Awards, like the key category nominations. And Jeff has not yet said when. On his website it says mid-November.
Mid-November, yeah.
And we're getting into mid-November, so I'm wondering what that means.
Yeah.
But we are going to have that ready to drop when he says that's around the corner.
Yes, when he is ready with his draft tweets, we will be ready with our draft video.
I have one thing. So I was working on that a little bit before here, and he typically has 6 games for Game of the Year.
Yeah.
I came up with a solid 5, and the 6th one I was like, I don't know.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like I was like this list of games for that 6th felt like a bit of a stretch.
Oh my!
It's kind of like a 5-game year for Game of the Year.
Sometimes they have like a surprising one on there, though.
Yeah. I think there's one that could be a huge wild card, but of course I'm not going to tell you now.
Exactly.
Not going to tell you now.
No. How exciting! A lot going on, and we're just kind of planning for finishing up this year in a really fun, great way. And then we're off and running on planning for 2025 already. I can't believe it. Oh my gosh, it's so nuts. But yes, exciting stuff.
All right, let's get into Mario and Luigi Brothership. But first, we have a great new sponsor to shout out. This episode is sponsored by Huel. That's Huel, the world's #1 complete nutrition brand. And look at this. I've actually got one right here.
You have
This is the black edition.
Yes, the black
chocolate
edition.
flavor, Huel.
Ooh,
and
yum.
Let me tell you, I am a believer in this kind of thing. So this is like a whole meal, like in a drink, like in a shake. And this literally happened to me a couple weeks ago, where I had such a busy morning at home, and then I had to drive into the studio and we had to like immediately record something. We were on a really tight schedule.
Yes.
And it was like, I do not have time to, even put together the simplest of breakfasts for myself, and to put that together, eat it, and like clean it up. Like I did not have the time for that. So I just grabbed the Huel, had it in the car, and felt completely full, completely satiated, completely fueled up to go in and do whatever we had to do. This was such a lifesaver.
It's so true. It's such a great idea. And you know what? It's so much better for you than trying to like eat like a cookie or a snack or something like that.
Or like, I'm going to get fast food on the way in. That'll solve my problem. I'm going to have a sip of this right now while you talk.
Yeah, you're going to have a little sip of that. But this is actually like really, designed with nutrients that will fuel your body. It's healthy. It's actually protein. It's like pea protein, so it's actually good for you. It keeps you full. Like if you eat a bag of chips because you're hungry because you missed a meal, you will be hungry again in like
catch up
10
with you.
minutes.
Yes.
So yeah, you have the black edition, which is in the bottles. They have chocolate and vanilla.
Also
flavored.
vanilla.
I also have the large bag of the powder, and you can just mix it yourself. They gave me the cool like smoothie bottle. You could just.
That looks like a Dr. Mario pill almost.
But you could shake it up and then just have a pre-mixed smoothie as well. And this is also the black edition chocolate flavored powder. So kind of cool that they have it both ways. And if you're like, if you're running late or if you just need to put something together really quickly, sometimes it's actually nice to pack this with you when you're traveling somewhere. Like we used to do that for E3.
Oh my gosh.
And like, because you don't know when your next meal
You don't
will
know
be.
when you're going to get an actual meal.
You don't know when you're going to the bathroom.
So don't
when you're getting a meal.
starve. Just have a Huel.
And you need some energy, right?
Yes.
So it's perfect.
Yes. Affordable, convenient, nutritious, love it. Take the leap and join the community of Hueligans with its exclusive offer of 15% off with code Kit and Krysta at Huel.com. That's 15% off with the code Kit and Krysta at Huel.com. Unlock a healthier, easier way to eat with Huel. Nutritionally complete meals in minutes so you can focus on what really matters.
Awesome. We'll put the link here. We'll put a QR code somewhere here for you to scan, which will be great and easy. Get your Huel. Yeah.
And what really matters right now is Mario and Luigi Brothership. So we're going to get into our impressions. Just for starters, how far are you into the game right now?
I checked my playtime yesterday, and I'm about 6.5 hours into the game right now.
Okay, you were finishing up Dragon Age. We're going to talk about that in a bit. So you're a fair bit behind me.
Right.
I'm in I think I'm at 14 hours.
Oh, wow. That's
so far.
Really good.
I was doing my best to get through it. And there's certain reasons why I wanted to get to a certain point that we'll share. So we've heard that the game is about 35 hours if you're just doing kind of more of a straight through playthrough, closer to 45 or 50 if you're doing the completionist route. So I feel like I got a good handle on what this game has to offer at this point. But, it just feels like the one thing that's really hanging over this game is this IGN review. So it got a 5 out of 10. Which was there were a couple outliers on the high and low end, and this is obviously very low and very unusual for a Nintendo game to get a review that's that low. I was actually thinking of some of the reactions inside Nintendo of how they're kind of rationalizing it, like, well, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? And I could see them saying, like, Logan Plant's a great guy. We know him. But I could see them saying, like, well, he's a younger reviewer at IGN. He's still, which is like, what does that mean? I don't know what that means. It's like, we're going to set him straight. But
he's like,
these are the quotes that you put out there. When you've got, treehouse breathing down your neck of why they do that.
And some people might think like, oh, reviews are not a big deal to Nintendo. No, it is. Like every game company, you know, they do care about reviews. They care about positive reviews. And oftentimes getting a review that is not super positive is kind of a reflection on your marketing team. Especially the team that you and I used to be on, which is like the communications team. We were the ones, you know, directly working with media on things like reviews and things like that. So it is straight up that comms team that we were on before that's probably getting the third degree. The hot lights are on them. Like, what happened?
What are you going to do now?
What are you going to do now? What was it about the type of, you know, stuff that was shared about this game before the game came out that we think could have caused this? There's going to be a lot of hand wringing and a lot of like, I feel like just like, you know, let's try to fix this, but there's really no way to fix it. You know, it's out there. But yes, they're definitely feeling it inside Nintendo on this review for sure.
But like, you know, with the way that kind of games media is now, like IGN is by far the biggest outlet that's there.
Yeah. Whether we like it or not.
And it does just feel like that review is kind of impacting the way that everybody is looking at this game.
Yeah.
Like we've noticed that even within our community of people like, well, I'm playing it, but how am I processing what IGN has said about that? And like, does that create some sort of like cognitive dissonance of like, wait, I actually like this game, but they gave it a 5. Like, what does that mean? Or like, no, this is confirming how I'm feeling. I'm not really liking that. And yeah, these opinions are all over the place, but we have seen a lot of people saying, I'm okay to wait. You know, maybe I was kind of on the fence, but getting a 5, like maybe I'll come back to that later when I have more time. There's no shortage of great games, and especially
that's the other thing too.
Great RPGs.
Right now, it's such a crowded space, especially in the month of November with games, that if you were on the fence or if this was on your list but you weren't sure whether or not you're going to prioritize it, something like this could change your mind and give you that sense of like, I'll just wait and see what more people are saying about it after normal people have played the game before I purchase it. And it's not, you know, this is different now. Before, this used to be on a handheld. This is not a, you know, $30, $40 game anymore. This is a $60 game. It is an expensive purchase, and you might not have or want to spend the money right now when there's like sort of this mixed opinion about it right now in the air, you know? So yeah.
That was always one of the annoying questions that we would get, which was like, oh, well, if you get a great review on the game, how many more units are you going to sell? Or if the game gets a bad review, how many do you lose? And it's like, it's an impossible question to answer. And it's frankly impossible about almost anything in marketing. Let's go, how many did you sell based on that, you know, $2 million of ads that you bought? Like, there's no way to say this was definitely the thing unless you're doing a very elaborate sort of research project that doesn't typically happen. But yeah, in this case, it does feel like it did turn some amount of people off of this game.
Oh yeah, totally. Very interesting. Again, very unique for Nintendo. They typically do not have to deal with stuff like this because their games are often, you know, 95% of the time reviewed very highly. So this is very unusual. And I think they are feeling it and trying to make sense of it all.
Yeah, and I thought Logan did a good job of outlining why he gave it a 5.
Absolutely.
You know, whether you agree or disagree,
review,
he does, you know, and he is very clearly a fan of the series, but he does point out like where the game for him just missed the mark. So,
yeah,
you know, at this point, I don't necessarily see how this game is a 5, but I'm not really mad at him for doing that. It's like, all right, well, that's how you feel. Fine.
Exactly.
So let's start to share a little bit about like where we fall on the spectrum. I want to start by doing this one thing. So just to keep it balanced for one more moment, say one thing that you like and one thing you don't like about this game, and then you can cut loose either way.
Okay. No, I do like this game. I think the one thing I do really, really like is I have 2 things that I really like actually. I really love the art style. I think the way that the game looks is like super unique and bright, colorful. Like it really just adds a lot of like, you know, your eyes are like treated to a delightful thing every time you play this game because you're looking at all the environments and it's so cool and so beautiful. The characters, the way that the characters look, their expressions, all that stuff just looks amazing and looks really, really, really nice. So I do like that a lot. And I really also like the battling. Like the battle mechanics are so good and so fun. And even though, you know, you're not doing a lot of special moves, even like just the normal jump or the normal hammer, you have some kind of bros kind of, you know, buddy attack, and that just, it's fun every time. Like you would think this will get repetitive, but it's not. It's really fun and satisfying no matter which enemy you're fighting, whether it's a boss or just some lowly little, you know, scrub enemy on the overworld. It's like, this is a fun battle mechanic. It feels great, and I really like that.
Yeah, that's one thing going into these games, you know, compared to like a Final Fantasy. I'm always like, oh, it's only two characters and they're not really that different. Versus like, you know, I'm picking a class. I've got this
Party,
character.
yeah.
I've got a ninja. I've got a warrior. I've got a mage. And I'm always like, is it going to feel too simplistic or too basic? But I agree. There's a lot of depth to that
Yeah,
battle system.
it's fun.
I think the one thing that I would point out is just like how much personality the game has, and also specifically that Mario and Luigi have.
Hmm.
Because, you know, coming from the previous game that Nintendo put out before this is Mario Party Jamboree, and that is like the complete opposite of like, you know, the soulless Mario render that you see like if
Yeah.
you go to like a store like slapped on the wall.
Yeah.
It's just like in such stark
Very
contrast. And
bland.
like, you know, Mario, I love Mario more than almost anything, but I will agree, like kind of some of the directions Nintendo has taken the character of late have made Mario just feel a little bit bland, where it's like you don't
Yeah.
see that personality, you don't really know what he's about. He's just Mario.
He's just like a conduit for you to do
Exactly,
things, but he's not like his own person.
Right, but in this, like,
Yeah.
there's so many like fun moments, or they'll have like a big expression on their face, or like they'll do something like do a silly dance together, where it's like you can see like, all right, these two are actually brothers. They really like each other. They're having a good time. They're having some goofy fun out there. So that's something that I really appreciate, because it just feels like we get less and less of that, you know,
Yeah.
the further we go in time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Mario and Luigi relationship is one that I yearn for Nintendo to go deep, deep, deep on that, because I think it's the most wholesome, wonderful thing ever. And you get little glimpses of it, you know, and you get a little glimpse of it in this game. You got a little glimpse of it in the Mario movie. You very rare to get that kind of depth about the two's relationship. And sometimes in Luigi's Mansions games you get a little bit, and I love it. I always just like revel when they do something like this, because it's such a rarity, and it is really nice to see that really come through in this game.
All right,
I
something
would
you don't
argue-
like.
I was just gonna say, I would argue, this is one thing I don't like. I would argue with you that while Mario and Luigi have really great personalities and they have great expressions and things like that, the side characters are boring.
Snoutlet, you suck. That's what I'm here to say.
Snoutlet
Fly away, Snoutlet.
Snoutlet could be better, honestly. All the side characters could be better. Like this universe that they created, I'm not super connecting with it. Ha ha ha. Right now, because I don't know, there's something about it that just feels a little, yeah, it feels bland. It feels a little bit like cookie cutter. To
Okay.
me.
Okay.
I like the idea of being on the boat. You know, that part about exploring the islands is fun, and I guess there is some motivation to like connect the lighthouses. But even when you do it, it's not like you get a big expression from the people that you're reconnecting together. Like, I guess the story is still unfolding a little bit, but I'm not really like feeling the motivations. Like, do y'all even care that I'm doing any of this, or are you just like, you look like a, you know, a rock and you're just standing there? I don't know.
I may be a bit more neutral. I don't think I trend negative on that, except for Snoutlet, who I put in the very negative category. I don't
really
like
hate
Snoutlet.
him?
I am going to call Snoutlet a pig. I am going to eat him. I am going to turn him into bacon, because that's how I feel. But all the other characters, like again, like they're not like super winning me over to the point where it's like, well, this is why I'm playing the game. But
Right.
like I haven't minded it. And they have done some things like over the time, maybe as you play further. Like there is that mom character on the first island. What's her name? I forget her name, but she's got like
Yes.
the two younger kids who've like moved out.
Yeah.
Like there is kind of like
Build it and make it.
build
with
it,
the
make it. Yeah,
kids.
there is like an
Yeah.
ongoing back and forth.
Wilma.
of her,
Wilma.
like, you know, having feelings of like being like, I guess, an empty nester or whatever, and like what, you know, what that means for her. It's like, all right,
Sure.
well, at least we're like revisiting this and not just, you know, dumping it and moving on immediately. So yeah, maybe that'll grow on you as you play more, but I can
Yeah.
understand why you feel that way.
Yeah, it's like the whole point of this game, the reason why you're there is to like reconnect these disjointed islands. But then the people that you're doing it for seem to have no emotion either way about reconnecting these disjointed
Yeah.
islands. There's a couple of like the character arc talks a bit about his father, you know, and that was kind of interesting, although he was very chatty and I was like kind of losing interest. I kind of see a little bit of that here and there. So, and even Connie, who is like one of the main side characters, she's kind of boring too. It's like, I don't really care about you right now. I wish you'd give me more things about you that I could like relate to or care about. Or even Mario and Luigi should be relating to and caring about, except for the fact that they're just like good-hearted people. It's like, what is the point of me doing this? You know?
Have you reached a point where you've run into any of the Mushroom Kingdom characters?
Yes, I have.
Okay. Toads?
Yes.
Toads you've got? Okay.
Toes I've got.
I have reunited with Princess Peach,
Okay.
which is cool. And she's it seems like there's kind of a big story / gameplay thing happening
Okay.
where you like send her off on an assignment, but you actually have a choice of like who you want to do the assignment. You can choose either her or Luigi, and they're basically saying like, well, if you choose Luigi, you're going to be by yourself, so it's going to be harder. So if you want to like opt into some harder gameplay, I guess that's a way to do it.
I wouldn't choose Luigi.
Or you could send Princess Peach
definitely
to do it, to be
Peach.
like the bait, basically. And then we know that Bowser's in the game. I've not come across, Bowser yet, but that's been kind of a fun little mashup.
Yeah.
The one thing that I'll point out that I'm just not liking so far is like the game is not funny. In really any way at all.
Yeah.
I think it is keeping a lighthearted tone, but that's a very different thing from being haha funny.
The writing is really not funny.
And I think there's some cases where they're trying to be funny and it's really not working. Like, you know, you dig up those like those old turnip men, and they'll
chat to
they'll try and give you some sort of a joke, and even though it's supposed to be like this lame dad joke, like it's just written really weird. The phrasing is weird. It's like,
the writing is odd.
This isn't working.
Nate.
We need Nasty Nate. This is what happens when you take your talented employees and give them desk jobs, sitting in a video conference all day long.
You make him do one-on-ones until he dies, and then he can't write any jokes.
The people who made these games, Nasty Nate and his friend Bill Trinan, they're now very high up at Nintendo of America. They don't have time to sit down and write a joke.
I know.
Because they're responding to the 19th email.
The 19th
about, oh my gosh.
I feel bad. I wonder if they feel bad. Maybe they don't, because they're like...
Maybe they're just like secretly like, I could have done so much better.
Oh. Show me. I mean, seriously though, it is really... It's such a sign of the times when, you used to have this like, you know, a relationship between Nate and Bill. They used to riff on this stuff and write these jokes, and then you get a game like Paper Mario and the 1,000-Year Door, you know, and then you have, you know, now, and it just feels like so bland. Yeah, it is not funny. I have not laughed once, which is really sad. I literally like some of these games are known for humor. When we were marketing these games on the 3DS, on the DS, it was like the #1 marketing message was like, talk about how funny these games are.
It's
because
so true.
Were.
It's
because
so true.
They were.
That was very high in the list of things to talk about.
It was like #1.
This is funny. Find a way to emphasize the humor.
Yeah, and then we would work with the ad team to make all these funny... We should get Monica back on. To make all these funny commercials and stuff. And yeah, because that was the goofy humor, the writing, like how clever it was such a key thing for the series. And now it seems that they've lost it. Now it's just, I mean, yes, it's fun. Like there is like a very, like you said, a very lighthearted tone to it. But the writing is not funny. It's not, it literally is not funny at all.
Yeah,
so.
There's maybe like 1 or 2 physical humor moments where like Luigi fell down or something. Or I was like, huh. But aside from that, anything that's been written, I've just been stone faced at the whole time.
This is like the comedy club where it's just the crickets.
Yeah, exactly. The other thing that, early on, like so many people and us included have been talking about is the pacing of the game.
Yeah.
Because that's why I really felt compelled, to get to that point in the game before we do this podcast. Because like I need to feel like I have all the components that the game's going to give me to be able to come here and talk about it. But they really dole those out slowly.
It's really interesting because this is very unlike them to do. Like, I'm not sure why they made the decision to do it. Is it because they felt like they want to make this game more accessible to a new audience and that they made those sacrifices to do that? But yeah, the way they dole out basic attacks or basic items that you need that you used to get, like within the first,
Yeah, it's
1
several
hour.
hours before you get a hammer. It's another several hours before you get a bros move.
Yeah.
It's even more like I just recently got the battle plugs mechanic, which is a huge mechanic.
Yeah, I haven't gotten that yet.
And that's a pretty complex mechanic. I can understand why they did that last. But yeah, I don't know why it's that drawn out where it's like 10 hours to feel like you've got just everything at your disposal.
Yeah, very strange because the game mechanics, the battle mechanics are like really key to this game. I would say that's like number 2 after the humor. And if you're losing out on the humor and then you also are taking your sweet time doling out these mechanics so that, the beginning of the game feels so simplistic and sort of almost on autopilot a little bit, it's like, why? It doesn't make any sense why they would do that. So yeah, I also was kind of scratching my head at that a little bit. Seems like there is more battle mechanics that I still yet to unlock. I believe people say that once you get to the 8-hour mark, it starts to get kind of good. So I'm waiting for that to click in. Maybe there's like, that's when I get all the battle mechanics and that's when it starts to feel like complete and fun. So I've yet to get there, and it is definitely feeling a little bit like a slog to just get all those things for me to play this game.
I'm going to say something that might surprise you, which is aside from the slow delivery of those battle mechanics, I actually haven't had a problem with the pacing.
I'm surprised. I am surprised to hear that.
I am someone who is very sensitive to pacing in video games, and somebody can get really bored. And I think it's just because like you're never doing any one thing for too long. Like the moment one thing starts to get too tedious, they do move you on to the next thing. So it's like there's some talking, might start to be getting boring. It's like, all right, now we're looking for an island. We're on the island. There's some battles. We got the thing. And it's like there is kind of a compact loop that you're doing early on where I just never felt fatigued with it. And it was like, well, I hope I can get a hammer soon, but I didn't feel like, oh my gosh, I'm like suffering through this because I don't have a hammer, because the game was still giving me stuff to do and I was still having fun with it.
Yeah, I think that generally what you're saying is true. Like the game does give you stuff to do. You're still like able to explore. The exploring part of it does help alleviate some of that with the items and the battle mechanics. Like it does help alleviate some of those pacing issues because you are like constantly moving around on this boat and you're like looking in that thing for the new island. And then when you get a new island, you get to walk around the new island and like kind of poke around and like explore a little bit. So that does help. I have a problem with the pacing in the story. Like, especially the last little bit that I played, I did not enjoy that. It was like a very strange decision where I was on my way to the first dungeon, which is that first like sort of great lighthouse that you're supposed to get. And like you have now gotten several islands around you. You have linked several islands. The big buildup has happened to the Great Lighthouse. You're like, yes, I'm so ready to go. Everyone's telling you in the game that you're ready to go. And all of a sudden, Connie goes missing. And they're like, oh, whoops, she's gone. Go find her. I don't know where she is. And you don't get any, indication of where she is. But the reason why they do this is because they want you to re-explore those islands that you have unlocked. But it's a really bad game design because it's kind of like forcing you to go back to those places, but you kind of don't want to because you want to get to that first dungeon. It was a bad time
to do that.
It was a really bad time.
And yeah, I actually thought it was compelling enough. I usually don't do a lot of side quests in games, but in this one I have been interested to go back because they're like, yeah, you get more stuff, and a lot of them are usually not a huge
Yeah.
time commitment. And it is interesting how those worlds change
Yes.
before and after you do them the first time.
Right.
So I've actually felt some motivation to go do that. So yeah, I thought that was just a bad idea. I
Yeah,
ended
they
up
didn't need to.
I just looked up like online where she was because I was
Me
like,
too.
I don't want to fiddle around with this. So yeah, that was just kind of a misstep.
Yeah, I agree. Like they did not need to do that to make me go back. I had already been going back and enjoying my own pace of re-exploring the islands that have changed after I've connected it. And the other thing that I thought was really weird is that the island she was on was the one you just came from. You had that was the last island you connect, which is like the floral island before you unlock the current to go to that great lighthouse. And so if they were motivating you to explore more, like why not take you back to one of the earlier islands you
Yeah,
connected?
I don't know. It's just
It
a
was
weird idea.
really, really badly done. Like I truly had a bad taste in my mouth, and I was just like, I'm not a game. I hate looking stuff up because I don't like to do that. I like to play it, really on my own. But I was like, forget this. I'm going to look it up.
Yeah.
So I did the same thing. I looked it up, got her back. It was really dumb. The reason why she was gone. And then I went on to the Great Lighthouse, which is what I was looking forward to. I wanted to do that first dungeon. I wanted to do that big boss fight. Like I wanted to do it. So it was really a very strange pacing thing that I didn't understand. I really hope that there are no more of those because that was odd and I don't think it was necessary at all.
So one of the other big complaints pacing wise, especially in the IGN review, but elsewhere too, is like near the end of the game, it does start to feel like they padded it out.
No, I hate that.
And I'm curious about that because there are some times where you naturally are going back to places you've been before. So I'm curious what they're going to introduce that's going to feel different from that. I'm obviously not far enough to know, but it is in the back of my mind. It is something that because we just recently played Superstar Saga, it is kind of something that Superstar Saga did too. It was like out of nowhere. It's like, oh, now you have to do this before you can go on. So it is kind of in the series DNA to try and be longer when it maybe doesn't need to. But yeah, I'm feeling like right now I'm in a good loop. There's a lot of islands for me to go. I kind of know what my short-term ultimate goal is. There's some interesting stuff happening with the Mushroom Kingdom characters. So I'm feeling happy with where I am now.
Yeah, I am fearful of that because that really was again like just a really unfortunate thing to happen at the end of the game. At the end of any game when you just feel like, oh my gosh, now it's
when you're ready to wrap it up.
Yeah, now it's just a slog because you're ready to wrap it up and you're excited to get to the end of the story and see what happens. And you're like, there's things that are already motivating you towards a certain outcome, and the game sort of puts a kibosh on that. Like that's not a good feeling. And you don't want to leave the player with that feeling at the end of a game. You want to leave them with a great feeling of triumphant success at the end of a game. So yeah, that's when I read that part in the review, that really worried me. And I was like, oh no, not again, not this. But we'll have to see because we'll get there on our own and then we'll make a decision whether or not that actually happens.
Yeah. So you don't have the battle plugs yet.
Not yet.
You have bros moves.
I do.
The initial shell ones. Okay.
Only the shell.
I just got another set of bros moves.
Okay.
Which are kind of tuned towards different types of enemies. I have one that's kind of a new one that's kind of like a lightning move that's cool. It seems to be specifically geared towards like flying enemies and hitting all of them.
Cool.
One of them is pretty easy to do. The other one I'm still very much figuring out like the rhythm of the button presses, whereas like those first shell ones you get, it's like almost guaranteed you're going to do it perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
Some
of those rhythm based moves are actually kind of hard.
Like what?
There was one that this is not a battle move, but I was again on that flower island, and you had to like do this like little
the rhythm game. I didn't like that
to unlock.
The rhythm was it felt off.
It was like the downbeat. I was like, why are we on the downbeat?
Yeah, I didn't like that.
It was weird.
Right.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I had to try several times because I was like failing at it.
So even though you still have just kind of the bare minimum, you're liking the battles.
I like the battles a lot. Like this is where the game really shines. Like. They did everything right. The battle feels tight. It feels really good. Like the button presses feel really like precise. The partnered moves, even in the basic moves, like when you do a jump or a hammer, it just feels like powerful and fun, and like that both brothers are getting into the action. And then the bros, I just have the shell one right now. I think that's really fun. I love like the very end
They're fun to
shot.
do.
It's really fun to do. And then when you get the shell and you like get the last move, it looks like Mario Strikers, where he's like kicking the soccer ball with the shell. It looks so cool. I also really like the Luigi logic, but only in the battles.
Okay.
Because that's really fun, where there's like some sort of environmental thing that happens in a boss battle.
Like a boss specific thing.
Yeah, and then you do like some sort of new different move. Like I just did one where you had to like fling the boss into like a hurricane, and then it like stuns it, and then you're critting it when he's stunned. So like that part is really fun. It's like a fun surprise to see, oh, like what environment thing are you going to be interacting with as part of the Luigi kind of logic move or whatever. But yeah, I think the battles are great fun, and I don't find myself like skipping them.
Have you game overed yet?
No.
No. I haven't either. I've heard that if you game over a couple times in a row, you can like downgrade to an easy mode, which I've heard from people who have played further, like the difficulty does really ramp up in the battles later on. So I'm actually glad to hear that, in case I get like stuck and discouraged for some reason. That is there. But yeah, I agree. Like the battles are super fun. So like there's a lot of them, so it's good that they don't feel tedious. It's like you want to do it. And like, yeah, all the moves feel very impactful. All of the kind of timing based stuff makes sense. Like it does feel fun to learn, especially where I am now. Like some of the enemies have like more complex patterns, and it does feel like you've really achieved something once you get those down.
Totally.
Especially initially, we're like, I don't know what's going on. I'm never going to get this. And then you finally do. That feels great. So the battle plugs, this is a really interesting thing that they've added that I'm curious to get your thoughts on once you get it. But basically, so you know how you're collecting, you pull those things off and then you chase them down.
Yeah, the little light
wispies or whatever.
They look kind of like fireflies.
Right. So you use those to build the battle plugs. So you can just do those anytime in the menu. And then Mario and Luigi share 2 slots where you can equip a battle plug. Mm-hmm. And there's, I already have probably 8 to 10 of these, and they all do different things. And you can also create combinations that do like combo attacks. So I have one combo I've seen is there's one where you do an AoE attack on your basic attack, and then it will rain down these spiky balls on everybody who is in the AoE.
That's cool.
Versus just, the spiky ball hitting the one guy that you jumped on. So and you kind of have to figure those out on your own. Like the game doesn't really explicitly say like this will create
a little bit,
unique combo.
Yeah.
And then everything does have a cooldown. So it's like, use it 10 times and then it has to cool down. But even in battle, you can mix and match in every character's turn. You can mix and match what you have equipped for the plugs.
Oh, cool.
So it's very modular. Like I'm surprised actually at how flexible they are and letting you do that. Like there's other ones that are like really convenient. Like, how like your character can get tripped and you're like stuck on the ground. Like there's some that like negates that for some, number of attacks. So if you're fighting like a boss who's like knocking people down, he's like, I can't have this happen. Like you can just in the next turn, just equip that, which is really nice. And it seems like there's a lot of these, it does. For a long time, you're wondering, like, well, why am I collecting these wisps? They seem to be everywhere, but they're actually really important because you need them to make these plugs. And yeah, it is a major like layer on top of the existing battle system that seems really cool.
Yeah, that sounds really fun. I like the way that I like any time you can like customize the way that you play something, like depending on whether, your play style or the situation that you might be in with a boss. Like that is all really cool sounding. I've been wondering why I have so many of those things too.
Yeah, and I really like that, everything is on a cooldown, but you don't feel like you're penalized for using it because you can just equip another one and it does something else that's interesting too.
Exactly.
So you don't feel bad that like, oh, I'm burning through this one. It's like, yeah, you got something else that's neat that you can put on afterwards.
Exactly. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, well, I'll look forward to playing around with that when I get it.
Yes. You mentioned Luigi in battles. Have you been tripped up by the BA button controversy? I certainly have.
Yeah.
A lot.
Sometimes I have to
Why'd they do that?
I don't know. It's weird. Yeah. So you basically have to A is to select the attack, and then B is to execute it with Luigi.
Come on.
And I always get, it should be B and B.
It really should be.
Right? That's the correct configuration.
It's very confusing.
It's a little, because you get, switching back to the other button. Yeah. Yes, I've been getting a little bit better, but I have whiffed some moves because of that, because I've forgotten which button to press.
But you have expressed some strong opinions to me about Luigi in this game, so I'm just going to give you the floor and let you cut loose.
Yeah, I like Luigi so much. I would say that sometimes I like Luigi more than Mario. And in this game, he does feel like, in the overworld, he definitely feels like more of a secondary character. You're not even like controlling him, right? You're like, he's just kind of following behind you. And you kind of just have him as like a little helper character in the overworld. And it's a little bit sad that he's not like an equal opportunity employee as Mario. So that part of it was a little bit disappointing. The other one thing that I don't like is the Luigi logic in the overworld. I don't understand why we need to have that. Like, what is the point of that?
Well, do you not like the thing that he's doing, or I know you don't like the little pop-up animation that plays?
I just don't understand why it needs to exist. Like, they want you to solve a puzzle in the world to advance. Like, why can't they just let you solve a puzzle in a normal way without having him be the one to weirdly come up with potentially the solution? I don't know. I don't understand why it exists. It makes no sense to me. The animation's strange, but more so is like, why do we have this? What is the purpose of this? You could just solve the puzzle. Like, a lot of times, is it like a hint system? Is it supposed to help people that don't know how to solve the puzzle? Or what? Yeah, why does it exist? I don't understand.
It took me a while to really, kind of grasp also, like, why are we doing this? What is the point? But I don't mind it. There are some interesting puzzles. Like, I did one where they separated and Luigi was working like a big button thing that he had to press, and
Mario was on the platform.
Mario was on a high vantage point, and you had to like manipulate the environment.
Yeah,
that way.
Like a little picture-in-picture.
Yes.
Actually,
I like the picture-in-picture. Actually,
me too. The picture-in-picture is very cute, but like I'm not saying the puzzles aren't fun. The puzzles are actually quite fun. And the overall puzzles that you use to traverse the world they're good. They're good puzzles. Like, they're fun. I like the
That's
ones
not what
where,
IGN said.
Oh, I mean, that's fine. I like them. I think they're fun. I like the the sort of the leaving Luigi in one spot and like passing him something, or like that kind of interaction between the two. I think that's great. I just don't understand why the Luigi logic needs to exist at all. Like, I don't understand it. Can someone tell me?
I understand that. Like, it's like, okay, this is a unique one-off gameplay mechanic that we're going to show you. But yeah, why is it given so much like pomp and circumstance? I don't necessarily.
It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
solve the puzzle. Yes, I understand that.
As far as like the ongoing role of Luigi, I agree. It's different in that you're not actively like switching between the two. Luigi does feel a little bit like a secondary character, but I can't say it's really like hurt my enjoyment of the game either. There's not that many of the bros moves, kind of the traversal oriented stuff. Like, I do have the UFO one.
I have the UFO one too.
That's kind of the only one that I have so far. So I kind of put that in the category of like, it's different, but I'm not mad about that change. It's not like actively hurting how I feel about this game.
I wish there was more of the bros overworld moves. I really like that. The way that you can combine those and do some cool stuff.
It was a lot of finger gymnastics though.
It was, but I liked it.
And maybe that's just because there weren't enough buttons.
Yeah, now you have plenty of buttons. Got lots of buttons.
Using sticks, we're using buttons, we're using everything.
Triggers, got everything.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're kind of iffy on Luigi.
I'm iffy on Luigi. I love Luigi, but I'm iffy on what they've made him do.
Are you iffy on the boat exploration? This is the thing that we were both very excited for.
I'm a little iffy on the boat exploration too. Like, I love
we got Krysta Plant right here.
Man. I wish I loved it more. I wish that the boat exploration was more exploration. I think having it on that like treadmill
On the
current,
track, yeah.
it deters.
Have you gotten the thing that will help the boat go faster?
I have.
Okay.
Yes, the boat's going faster. That's fine.
I had that thought on the boat. I was like, gosh, I wish there was a way to make the boat go faster. And then like 5 minutes later of playing, they're like, we're going to show you how to make the boat go faster. Yes.
Yeah, the boat going faster, it's helpful, but yeah, you basically don't feel like you're really exploring the wide open sea because you feel like you're going in a circle because you are. And that part is a little bit like, oh man, and like there's not that many things for you to discover.
Well, Miss 6 hour game time, I think once you get into the area that I am now, it does feel like there are some things that you could miss if you were just, focused on going to the thing that they say is the goal. And I have found now a number of other islands, and there's even like islets, which are like small bonus islands that have like kind of a different set of goals.
I found a stone thinker guy.
Oh, what are those reefs? Are those
reefs,
called?
yeah,
I'm not sure exactly what the goal of the ultimate goal is with all of those. So I will say that does get a bit better as you get further into the game, into this kind of next area of the water. So I don't think that like that's what it is. Yeah, it is definitely different. Like it's certainly not like Wind Waker where you're just floating around on your own. But there is something that's very interesting. I wonder how they came up with this mechanic. And I like the idea of, being off on your way and then multitasking a little bit while you're like keeping an eye on the map. Like that is fun. And it they do tell you a lot. It's like, oh, go do a side quest while you wait to get to your next thing. And like sometimes you can, because sometimes those are really quick to do. So I do kind of like that sense of it. But it is a bit unorthodox as far as what people might be expecting when it says, explore the ocean.
Right. Well, I'm looking forward to maybe discovering some different things, because right now I've just gotten into the colorful sea, which I think is the bigger area. And hopefully that means there's more to explore and more to just kind of poke around instead of going from like main thing to main thing. But yeah, it definitely doesn't feel free, which is what I love about boat exploration, is that sense of like the wild, the blue yonder, and you're just like can explore. You feel like the sense of like openness. You don't feel that with this game because you're going in a circle.
I do like the boat as the hub. I am enjoying that.
The boat hub is very cute.
I am liking my boat's starting to feel pretty crowded with all the people that are on there.
I like how you have like a connected light of
pulling. You're pulling all those things along.
You got a caravan behind you,
right? Nice. The Toads have their weird massage parlor thing going on. I had some questions about that.
Yeah,
but yeah, it feels big. There's a lot to do. You can take care of all your stuff of like shopping, upgrading your weapons while you're in between. So like I do think that serves a valuable role in the game of like being in between your next active mission.
Yeah, and
even that feeling kind of meaningful.
Yeah, I do like how they give you a little fast travel thing too, so you can easily get back to the boat if you need to like go look through the telescope or do something. Like it does feel like you truly are. That is truly your hub world, and the idea of your hub world sort of traveling with you versus it being something you're going back to all the time is actually quite a genius way to look at it. So
there's nothing about the getting around to all these islands that I would say is annoying at all. And I think they actually make it pretty easy. Because even like if you're on an island, you can just teleport to a different island. You don't even have to go back to the boat.
Right. That's nice.
Which is, I thought, pretty forward looking for them.
Yeah, pretty nice.
So I thought that was cool. The game's look, we talked about that. Like for me, the music is a real standout. Mm-hmm. The level up music.
You like the level up music. The Luigi
top tier level up music.
Dancing.
I love it. It's so good. It's kind of riffing on, like Mario's got like really gravitated towards that big band sound. Yeah. And this is like slightly adjacent to that, where it's a bit more like brassy than, saxophone heavy. And it's like, I don't know, there's just something about it that's really working for me. And then some of the other kind of like just island, like town themes, it's just good like RPG stuff. So
they did not release it on Nintendo Music.
No, they didn't. And I hope they do.
Oh, they should.
I want to extend the level up music.
Oh,
to
all
all
the
day
time?
long.
All day.
I'm leveling up all day
all
long.
day you're doing this.
Yeah. Until I fall down.
Until you fall.
I'm gonna do
One
that.
leg at a time you'll do the game.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it, music is good.
Performance issues. Let's talk about that.
Oh. Yeah.
I have not noticed really anything.
Load screens for me have been pretty bad.
What do you mean?
So I've noticed it very significantly for two things. When you're going through the pipe to go to a new island, that load screen is pretty long. It's
Okay.
at least a 8-second load screen, which I think is pretty long. And then the other thing that I've noticed that when it really starts to stutter, you can see it stuttering, is when you're in the overworld and you attack an enemy in the overworld and it needs to load the screen of you doing the first attack. You can see it like chug.
Is that real? I mean, it's like, yes, there is a loading screen and you can see the loading screen kind of stutter a little bit, but I don't like, that's not gameplay. So I don't do what you need to do to load the next thing. Like, I don't really see that as that big of an issue.
But it's slow too.
I don't find getting in and out of battle to be slow.
Just when you are doing the first attack, when you're just normally getting into battle, it's all right. It's okay. Yeah. But when there's something about it needing to do something else when you do that first attack, it slows it down to me. That's how I feel. I don't know if that's true or not.
Maybe you could restart your Switch or something. Maybe you got some.
I'm playing only in handheld.
Pent up jank or something.
I don't know.
But I mean,
the
IGN review was saying like, oh, this is like barely a step below Pokemon Scarlet and Violet.
I don't think that's
and I'm
true.
Like, that is really a reach from what I've played.
True. I don't know think about that's
that.
True. I think I have not had any issues with like, the overworld stuff. The battling is not stuttering. Like
right.
Any of that stuff is fine. It's like. It's more so like slowness.
The game does not look blurry, which is something, sometimes that happens on Switch games where they have to make a big compromise with the resolution.
Yeah, it
to get it to run well. Like I really don't have hardly any issues.
And you played both on handheld and TV mode?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. Again, maybe this is just me. I don't know. But
can't see it.
I don't know.
Have more patience.
You know what? Maybe it's because I grew up playing like N64 and PS1 games where there really were performance issues. It's like, oh, this thing is at 15 frames a second. Like these two polygons that we're rubbing together are bringing this PlayStation 1 to its knees. Like maybe that's just what it is. But I'm just built up the natural defense over the years and years of playing actually janky games.
I'm like you though. I usually this doesn't bother me, but I do get bothered by load times.
All right. Any other final thoughts on this game?
I will keep playing. This is a spoiler cast game.
You have to keep playing.
So regardless of
unless
whether
this is a solo spoiler cast by me, which I'd have no problem with.
Regardless of whether I like or dislike this game, I will finish this game. I will finish and I'll play it to the end. I will play the side quests. It's going to
be an explosive spoiler cast.
We'll see what happens. Maybe I'll change my mind completely. Maybe I'll do a full 180, at the end, and this becomes like game of the year or something. Who knows?
All right.
Anything could happen. But yeah, it is kind of like such an interesting place to be with a Nintendo game that is so polarizing. And
I mean, I have very few complaints about this game so far. It's been really fun. It's something I've looked forward to playing. Like, I feel like it's introducing, really interesting ideas the more I play. So I'm very excited to go on. I have some trepidation about the end of the game and the backtracking and the padding. But I think it's going to be a good time
be all right.
getting there. So I'm very glad to be putting my time into this game right now.
Yes, might be all right.
Last big question. Have there been too many Mario RPGs? This was pointed out by some people looking at like the UK sales, saying this was the lowest in the calendar year. We've had 3 Mario RPGs, RPG Remake, Paper Mario Remake, and this. Is it just too much?
You know what it's hard to do is it's hard because they've been so close together, all the RPGs. It's hard to not compare them. And maybe that's not fair. Maybe you shouldn't compare this game to Thousand Year Door or Super Mario RPG Remake. Maybe that's just an unfair comparison because this is a different kind of game. And you're not looking at it as a standalone game. You're looking at it in comparison to these other ones because they came out so close together. So I think that's hurting it, honestly, because I find myself doing that too. I find myself wishing for, the charm and dialogue and humor of Thousand Year Door that's just not in this game, but maybe that's an unfair comparison. So in terms of like, do I want to keep playing Mario RPGs? That's not the reason why I think having them all come out in such close succession is hard. Is more so like you can't help but compare them to each other. That makes your experience different when you play them.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. And I also wonder, like, is it too many Mario RPGs or just too many RPGs in general? Like, this has been a really good year for RPGs and like really big, meaty RPGs where it's just
I like RPGs, so
people might be backed up or like they have another game that they're prioritizing. And they want to get that kind of variety. I mean, and we played all three of those games. Plus, we did a replay of Superstar Saga, and like I don't feel burnt out on this
not on this genre
or
not on
whatever
this genre, yeah,
at all. So, I think as always, like it's a very nuanced thing that's happening here.
Yeah,
and I think also like there's some amount of the Nintendo fan base that's just kind of gone numb to what the Switch has in the whatever remainder of its life has. It's just like I'm just focused on the Switch 2 right now. I don't care what this game is. It's not on the Switch 2. I'm not going to give it the time of day. So
true. People have mentally moved on. That totally happens at the end of the life of a hardware. So
let's read some comments from our Patreon
polarizing comments
who are also playing the game and are equally polarizing. Here we go. Starting with Brad SF56. I'm about 7 hours in and have to say that as much as I was fully ready to poo-poo the IGN review, I'm just not enjoying this game. Perhaps it's the expectation I had, but the animations and world, though gorgeous and enticing, can't pull me out of the sluggish, second-by-second pacing. It just ain't fun.
Ooh. Keep going. Maybe it'll get
Kilo Kibo. The brothers are so back. As someone who has played every Mario and Luigi game to date, I am loving the return to basics without anything feeling like a gimmick. The combat is great, and every excellent input has a satisfying kick to it. I was also worried about the music without Yoko Shimomura, but I am pleasantly surprised at how good each track sounds so far. I do have minor complaints, such as bland locations, performance issues, and worst of all, Luigi's battle menu button being assigned to A, but nothing really makes me dislike the game yet. Looking forward to finishing this game and listening to the spoiler cast.
Okay.
Wrap it up with Torcheeks. Just feels like a constant case of too much time passing before anything really interesting happens. Said interesting thing happens and hooks me again, and then the game just falls flat again. Among other performance issues and intentional changes from past entries, I'm just not feeling it, nor has any moment lived up to past games in my 10 hours of game time. I love this series, but man, I'm considering letting it go for the time being.
Torcheeks, no!
I'm fascinated at this. I really am. I am so fascinated at this reaction.
It is right. It's
the
fascinating.
Range.
Wow. And it's not like people are down the middle. It's really like one side.
Extremes.
Or the other side. Extremes.
Yeah.
So interesting.
Great stuff. As we said, we're going to be doing a spoiler cast on this game. Look for that in early December.
Yes.
Early-ish December when we go deep on that game. I want to continue with the games we're playing since we've been talking about that, but we got another sponsor to shout out. This episode is sponsored by Pretty Litter.
Thank you, Pretty Litter.
Listen, we know cats are picky, and we are too. But we have both been cat owners through the years, and there are some things that we just love about Pretty Litter.
We do love Pretty Litter because it is so nice. It's non-clumping. It traps the odor and the moisture. It's very lightweight. It's low dust. But best of all, it has these ways to tell if something is going wrong with your pet, with your cat. And like, I always wish that I could talk to my animals and ask them, like, are you not feeling good? But because we are not able to do that, you need other ways to indicate to you if your pet is not feeling well so you can take care of them. And Pretty Litter has this really cool thing where it changes color to indicate early signs of potential illness, urinary tract infections, which is very common in cats, kidney issues, and lots more. And it's just so nice to have that as like a safety precaution because I want to take care of my pets and I want to make sure that I get them to the vet as soon as possible if any of these things are happening, and having this be available in their litter is so nice.
It's also just shipped right to your door, which is really convenient. You know, sometimes those bags of kitty litter can get like really heavy, and
So
it's like,
heavy.
oh
This
my
is really
gosh,
light, actually.
I got
Yeah.
to carry it through the store. I got to put it in my car. I got to drive it home. I got to lug it up these stairs, and then it's like, oh, I'm exhausted. Versus like it just shows up and it's there and it works and it's great.
Yes.
So
Exactly.
yes, Pretty Litter is amazing. You have to try it. Go to prettylitter.com/Kit and Krysta to save 20% on your first order and get a free cat toy.
Wow.
That's prettylitter.com/Kit and Krysta to save 20% on your first order and get a free cat toy. prettylitter.com/Kit and Krysta. Terms and conditions apply. See site for details.
We'll put the link right over here and the QR code. Check it out.
You finished Dragon Age the Veilguard
I have finished Dragon Age the Veilguard.
in a way that I didn't expect.
You were really surprised. I was surprised too, actually, because I played the main story and I had thought that this was going to be a much longer game and I was going to keep going and kind of take a little breather on Mario and Luigi while I finished this up. But I was able to finish this game and move on very quickly to Mario and Luigi, which is great. And yeah, I'm a big Dragon Age fan. And, you know, I've been looking forward to this game. I knew going in that this game was going to feel different than, you know, other Dragon Age games that I played beyond like, you know, the very obvious things around the art style and just the tone and vibe of the game. Like, you know, the game feels different. The battle mechanic is different. Like, it just definitely is not a Dragon Age game that I've been used to.
You almost said Dragon Quest.
I did. I was thinking about
You've
Dragon
been
Quest.
doing that.
It's so hard to. These are too many games with
A
similar
lot of
names.
dragons.
A lot of dragons, a lot of quests, and a lot of ages. But yes, this game, the wrapping it up part, like the finishing of the main story part, was really interesting. So basically, you can finish the main story in a pretty reasonable time, like sub 20 hours. But you're not going to get like the ideal ending. If you spend more time with your characters doing like a bunch of the side quests and you like level up your sort of your relationship with them, your bond, and also you're supposed to help them solve like their own personal, like fight their own personal demons. And once they do that, supposedly they're stronger fighters for you in the end game and you have a better ending. So I don't think I got like a great ending because I didn't do every single one of those side quests. I think if you did all of them, then the game stretches to like 50 plus hours. But if you don't do all of them, you can like get to the end and see what happens in the story. But yeah, like a lot of my character, like a lot of my party like died basically because they were not like quite ready to take on the final boss. But yeah, it was an interesting experience. I wouldn't say this is my favorite Dragon Age game, but I didn't mind the departure from a traditional Dragon Age game. The battling in this game is actually really fun. Like, it's more, you know, action now. But I played as a mage, and it was just like really fun to use those spells to, you know, you have all these different party members that you can have in your group and use their you know, all of their abilities as well. Is really customizable, and I really like that part of it. Like, I think that battling is where the game really shines. The story was okay. Like, it had an interesting twist in there, but I wasn't like super invested, which is why I didn't feel really compelled to do all those side quests, because I was like, well, if I kind of cared about you more, I would try to keep you alive, but I kind of don't care. So too bad.
That structure is a very, you know, BioWare's done that before. The Mass Effect 2 also, you know, followed that structure where it's like this is a suicide mission. You know, who's going to make it, who's not going to, and there were these other things that you could do with all the characters to kind of up your chances. And the game, you know, had some calculation it would run at the end to decide who made it or who didn't. So that's interesting for them to kind of go back and revisit that. But yeah, I'm just so fascinated that, you know, this thing that was, you know, touted as like, oh my gosh, it's one of the biggest RPGs of the year, that you beat it in like 12 hours.
You can make it, though, one of the biggest RPGs of the year,
right?
If you played everything. But again, like for me, I have so many games to play. Like, the game needs to give me motivation to continue playing it, and I don't think the game did that. Like, I was not compelled to continue like developing this person's relationship and like, you know, leveling them up and doing all those side quests. Like, you need to give me a reason to care about you, and you kind of suck, so I don't care. Too bad. I cared about one person, which is the guy that had the really hot guy that had
Imagine that.
a baby griffin as like a pet, and I like sacrificed everything to save him and the griffin, basically. And so I only cared about that one character. Everybody else I was like, whatever, so you'll die, I don't care. Whatever.
All right.
But it was fun. I enjoyed my 12 hours with it.
All right.
Yeah.
Interesting stuff. We have also both been playing Pokemon TCG Pocket.
Oh my gosh.
You have gotten over the hump.
I got good, guys.
With no help from me.
GUD good.
Yes.
I got good. I now have, yes, I've now figured out the battling. The thing that you said just in the last podcast is very helpful. Like, oh, how about, you have to make a deck that is just one type. I did not know that basic thing. I don't know how I missed that in the tutorials anyways, but I've now have two pretty good decks. I have electric deck and a water deck. I did end up going through that event, and I did get the Lapras EX card, which was very, very exciting for me. Since then, I've gotten a couple more like pretty cool EX cards. I got a Pikachu one that's really, really nice. And last night, I did a poll like right before I went to bed at like midnight. I got a Mewtwo EX card.
Oh boy!
Oh my goodness!
Now you can be one of those players.
It was an exciting moment, and then I was like, "I'm gonna go to sleep."
Now you're gonna be one of those people.
I won't.
You are.
Those people are cheap.
Well, so that's kind of how I'm feeling. It's like I'm still really enjoying this. I still, am having a great time. I'm going in daily to get my cards, but my experience of actually doing battles online is that you're kind of feeling the limits of what the game is now.
Yeah.
Where there's just, there's only that one set of cards that's out there. And, people who are paying attention, they have found out like these are the decks that give you the best chance to win. And that's like 9 out of 10 times what you see in a battle, which means you kind of have to orient your deck a certain way to counter those. And you just don't feel like there's a lot of original thought going into how these are composed. It's like, I watched a YouTube video that says, run this Mewtwo deck or run this Misty water deck that's going to get my Starmies and my all my other EXs out there immediately, and I'm just going to win. So it's like,
I have that deck.
It's just kind of a race to see who can get the powerful card out first. And it's like, I kind of want there to be a bit more of a back and forth strategically. Yeah. And because there's not that many cards out there, there's just not a lot of that yet. Or it's like, a lot of the cards that are out there, it's like, how many of those are actually viable in a deck versus they're just like filler.
Exactly.
Like, oh, this Hitmonlee is gonna, win it for me.
Right.
So that's kind of how I'm feeling. It's like I really want there to be more variety out there. So I'm wondering, when are they going to put out this next expansion? When is there going to be something else to do? Because it's like, I wouldn't say that I'm at the moment having a super amount of fun with the online battles, because it just boils down to the same stuff almost every single time.
That's true. It is very like formulaic in terms of what you need to have in your deck to win, and what like the luck of the draw of drawing those cards. And yeah, there's a lot of times like this is what I do now, because if I see a deck that I know is that deck, I'll just concede. Because I'm like, I'm not going to win.
That's not fun.
Because you're just gonna go down that path with a
right. It's like, here's the Misty. I've been rolling the heads, and now I'm just gonna win. It's like that's
the deck that you have that against the one that comes up, you have no shot, so you're just gonna waste 10 minutes. Like I might as well concede and go to another game where I might have a better shot, because there's only like 3 or 4 options of like what that battle how's that gonna go, Right. And sure, there's some people that have more original decks. Like I've seen a few pretty interesting ones as well. Like someone had a good like psychic deck that was pretty interesting, but those are very far in between. But I've been doing pretty good.
I talked about my experience playing Magic when I was younger, and that was something that was interesting, was like access to that kind of like high level, like this is the best deck to build. Like that really wasn't there. So it was like up to like whatever this person like cooked up in their mind. Right. And sometimes these decks were terrible. Sometimes they were really interesting. And sometimes they were very unusual. Yeah. But again, like you just don't see that, because it's like, again, like, oh, my favorite, guy on YouTube showed me this deck, and it is really good. And, I get a high win rate, and that's cool. And that is what it is. But it's like, I just miss that wider, like you and I should do some battles and say like, these cards are banned. Like what else can you cook up? You know?
Yeah. And you can't have a deck that's like, if I use my electric deck, you can't use your fighting deck. Like that's just not fun.
Sure, but I did have this other rant that I do want to share here. It's about Pikachu, which is listen.
Pikachu.
As I love Machamp, everybody knows that about me. I have to evolve Machamp multiple times to get the most powerful card out there. As it is, you think the evolution is the most powerful one. Pikachu has a Raichu. Pikachu evolves into Raichu, but Pikachu is the one just because Pikachu is the mascot for Pokemon that everybody knows. Like, oh, we need to make that the EX. So these Pikachu players are skipping the line because they can go right to that and get the powerful card. I got to evolve Machamp 3 times to get out there. What's up with that?
Well, okay, yes, that's true. But that
just because it's cool?
That Pikachu EX card is not that great. It's okay, but it's not that great.
Oh my gosh.
I think if you have the electric deck, what you need is the
they put down weenies, they put that down and they win the game.
You need the Zapdos EX card. That card.
No. The Pikachu one is like it again, if you get the right thing, you basically win from the first thing. You put down the weenies, you put down the Pikachu, you basically won the game.
I have that card.
Well, now it's time for you to be one of those people.
It's okay.
You've got all the annoying cards now.
You do have
perfect fit for your personality.
You can use that card with only 2 energy bubbles, which is kind of like ridiculous. Because if you are using like a really good EX card, you need 3 bubbles. This one you can use.
But you should have to evolve it into the Raichu. You should have to, but no, they bent the rules because everybody loves Pikachu. That's our mascot. We got to make Pikachu cool and viable. Lame. Machamp is the mascot of my life. Make him stronger. He's actually pretty strong, but it takes a while to get there.
Yeah, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you can't get there because you don't have the right cards.
That's what I have to say about that. Nothing more to say there.
No.
Yes. No. Let's move on to the news. This was interesting. We got a bit more detail about the Nintendo Pal World lawsuit.
This is hilarious.
And what if I told you that the amount of money that Nintendo is seeking to recoup as damages in this lawsuit is 10 million yen, which comes to, in US dollars, $66,000.
I'll just pay it for you. I got you.
We're busting Yuji Naka out of jail. We're paying his bail, and then we're paying off.
I'm going to garnish my own wages.
Wow, this is really like
to pay this for you.
This is the the Krysta Karma tour. We're doing good deeds for everybody.
We're going to bust Yuji Naka out of his jail and put him in the Pal World jail.
Oh,
but then we're going to pay the Pal World legal fees. See? You see how that works?
We're robbing Peter to pay Pal World is what we're doing. Is that how that phrase goes?
That's a good idea. We'll rob Yuji Naka to pay Pal World.
So I think that was kind of a shocking, like, wait, that's all this was for? And then they did kind of find out, what are the different patents that Nintendo is invoking. And, many of these were patents that were like modifications to existing patents they have. But those modifications were submitted after Pal World
came out,
released. So it's like you kind of get the sense this idea of like they were methodically building up the things they needed to do this case.
Yeah.
So it's like on one hand we had this patent for a long time, but now we have modified it and beefed it up to be really current and to give us a good, arguing point against Pal World.
But why for only $66,000 in damages?
Well, again, like this came out, like when did we first learn about this lawsuit? That was like around the time that we were going to TGS. Like that was like September. So it has been 2 months. And like that was 2 months of people thinking like, oh my gosh, like Pal World's going to be
shutting it down. Nintendo's
blown into smithereens.
Right.
So how many people are really going to take note of this amount versus like in their mind, they're just like, oh my gosh, Nintendo sued the pants off of them. And even if it is 66, I mean, it is still like a scary thing for them to go through. It does like indicate like, yeah, we've got our eye on you and there could be more. And anybody else who's thinking about doing this stuff, you could be next. So I think Pal World's got $66,000, but maybe somebody else who's making like an indie game doesn't. So I don't, it is funny to look at in hindsight, but I don't think it necessarily is like a huge blow against what Nintendo's trying to do.
Yeah, it does take a little bit of air out of the threat, though. Because the idea was like they're gonna sue you,
Yes.
like crazily bury you in legal fees. You're never gonna be able to operate
Well,
again.
this doesn't count any legal fees. I mean, the lawyer fees are definitely more than
Right,
$66,000
the damages are
to deal with
yes,
that.
exactly.
Yeah.
But it doesn't seem to be as like threatening as at what we first thought when we
Right.
saw that Nintendo is suing Power. I mean, they made a big deal out of this. They had the press release that came out. They made a big announcement. You know, they really wanted to draw attention to how scary this is. But I do think that this takes a little wind out of the
Yeah.
threat.
There are some people who checked in with patent lawyers and they said, yeah, this is kind of a bully move on Nintendo's part, which, yeah, I think that's what the point of it is.
Yeah,
is to be a bit bullyish. And that's frankly, you know, a way, you know, something Nintendo does is kind of bully tactics against, you know, to assert its position. So, yeah, I wonder kind of, you know, what maybe the next shoe to drop is in this. But yeah, this was a surprising development.
Yes. Wow.
Next, this is an interesting trend that has happened in just the last couple days this week. Both Fortnite and Overwatch have announced these kind of, you know, classic modes or events that they're doing that basically revert things back to when the game started. So Fortnite announced they have OG mode that is coming back as presumably a permanent way that you can play the game. That's starting December 6th. And then Overwatch is doing a Overwatch Classic event that is currently up and running. That's going to go for 3 weeks. Obviously, both Fortnite and Overwatch have evolved into some things that are quite different than when they first released. Why do you think these games are doing this?
Yeah, I wonder if they're wanting to sort of get back to basics based on, you know, how far away they are now from what made them big in the first place. I get the sense that like you kind of feel like we are so far from who we were, you know, and maybe the fans are getting a bit fatigued and are also like yearning for the days of what got them into Fortnite in the first place, what made them excited about this game in the first place. So I can see them doing this as a fun little nostalgia play, and maybe there's even some people that stopped playing that they're trying to get back. Like there's a lot of reasons why this an idea like this or like a marketing thing like this could work really well is, you know, this is the thing that made you big, and why not bring it back in a way, you know, to celebrate like everything that you've accomplished. So I can see it as a thing that works.
Yeah, I just find it so interesting. I think these games have reached a point where, you know, I'm sure if you're running these games, you're just daily looking at the numbers and you're just trying to think like, well, you know, what can I do to get these numbers to go up a little bit? I'm sure the people on top are breathing down your neck of like, oh my gosh, the arrow went down. I'm freaking out. What are you going to do? And yeah, I think you can make a good case for this of like, yeah, this is serving a very specific type of player who maybe wants a more simplified experience, you know, who maybe played from the start and has lapsed and now looks at where the game is and is like,
there's no way I can catch up.
That's unrecognizable from the game that I used to play. I can't get back into that. So it's a play for those types of players. And now Fortnite, there's so many ways you can play it. Like they've got the, you know, the whatever the current version of that is. There's the Lego Fortnite that's more, you know, like kid oriented. Like I'm very curious, like in this OG mode, like how do all of the, you know, skins and stuff that you've bought, like does that carry over? Is it just, you know, the map and kind of the gameplay? Those are all cosmetic anyway. So, you know, it doesn't seem like that would make much of a difference, but it's gotta be complicated to have all these different versions that you're supporting and you're trying to have some sort of parity between them all. And those are all, you know, for Fortnite, those are all ongoing modes. Like for Overwatch, at least this is a limited time event. And I imagine if this does well, you know, they'll think about how they can bring it back and what the right way to do that is. Isn't that what they did with the World of Warcraft Classic, where it started as a limited time thing? And then Jason wrote about that in his book.
Yeah, and they made it permanent.
And then it became a permanent thing.
Right.
So yeah, I'm just so fascinated by this, and just the persistent pressure. That's what I keep going back to, the people managing these games, of
It's
like,
awful.
you always have to cook up some new little scheme or some little thing to juice the players.
Yeah.
Because yeah, otherwise, I mean, Fortnite is, still huge, still super popular. Um, Overwatch has morphed into something that I know there's like a lot of vocal fans who don't like the direction, but it's now free to play, so I assume there's no shortage of players on it. Um, and this is kind of the lament that everybody says, is like, people are hooked into these types of games, and they get in, and they have so many hooks that it's hard for them to get out. It's like they're just trying to put more hooks into more types of people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Last news story. This was an interesting one in
Mm.
Take-Two's recent financials. They have sold their private division publishing label, which was sort of an indie-oriented publishing label. They had done games like Outer Worlds, Ollie Ollie World, Tales of the Shire was a game coming up that they were
Yeah.
doing. And they had, I forget if it was earlier this year or last year, announced this deal with Game Freak to publish their new game that just had a Project Bloom code name.
Right.
So, there's a pretty notable publishing division within Take-Two. Definitely worked on some really acclaimed games. But let's read a quote from Strauss Zelnick, who's the CEO of Take-Two, to get a sense of why they did this. We made this strategic decision so we could focus all our resources on growing our core and mobile businesses for the long term. We're really best at these big AAA experiences. We have the biggest IP in the business, some of the biggest IP in the overall entertainment business, and to make sequels to existing beloved franchises, as well as to create new hit IPs, is our mission. Private Division did a great job supporting independent developers, and almost to a one, every project they supported did well. However, the scale of those projects was candidly on the smaller side, and we're in the business of making great big hits.
Oh boy.
Something about this
is
makes me
not
nervous.
bode well. Yeah, this is like the opposite of what sort of I think, and we've talked about this a lot, of what makes it healthy in the industry is to have games of all sizes and to have support for games of all sizes. Like when you are so singularly focused on, quote, making big hits, and one of those things is not a big hit, Concord, you really feel it, and it could be the thing that breaks you. So if he wants to put the eggs in that one basket, good for him, but I think that's very risky.
Yeah, if they have a Concord level bust, they're going to be wishing that they had a private division with, kind of a smaller or more medium-sized hit like an Outer Worlds.
Yeah.
Just to, kind of keep things stable while you try and figure out what's going on. And I mean, like, these companies look at these as investments, but isn't that always the investment advice? Like, you need to have a balanced portfolio. And it's like we are completely throwing that advice out the window, and we're just like putting the bets on the things that are going to have, the biggest risk reward.
Yeah.
And it's like they've almost forgotten, like, oh, there is a risk that's part of this. So it's like, I wonder, like, is Take-Two going to be the next company that just needs to learn the hard way about this?
Yeah.
They obviously have GTA 6 coming, which is like the most extreme example of that, but it also feels like that's kind of too big to fail. Like, it would be shocking if GTA
I don't think
6
that's going to fail.
Was a bust, even though it seems to be costing like an unprecedented amount of money, but like well and beyond anything before it. But like, once you get past that, after that, are you really equipped
what's after that?
To weather that? I don't know.
Yeah, it seems this quote just makes me feel like this person has so much hubris too. It's like you're almost looking into a Greek tragedy right now. Like, when is the next shoe going to drop on this? Like, wow, it just feels so, I don't know, like out of touch to what's happening in the industry too. It's like, how hard is it to make a big hit these days? How much competition is out there for you to have something that actually captures widespread attention? Like, that is almost impossible to do. So I don't know.
Did you know that Strauss Zelnick was on the cover of Men's Health?
Okay.
Maybe if I was on the cover of Men's Health, maybe I would be full of Strauss Zelnick's confidence as well.
confidence,
Just saying.
hubris,
Just saying.
Disillusionment,
Strauss,
whatever you want to call it. Whatever you want to call
Let's
it.
go work out some morning. Thank you to all of the great news stories that are happening. Let's move on to questions from our Patreon community.
Yes.
We get those always from our Patreon community. It is the holiday gifting season, though. I did want to say this is a new Patreon feature. If you would like to give somebody the gift of us, the gift of Kit and Krysta, you can do that at patreon.com/KitandKrysta/gift.
Yes.
And gift a subscription to our Patreon for however long you want at whatever tier you would like. Wow.
What a great gift.
I am so happy that Patreon added that.
Be the gift giver that everybody loves by giving them.
Win that exchange, because that's what giving a gift is about. Winning.
Win the white elephant.
That's right. First question is from Paul Gale. Hey, Kit and Krysta, now that Nintendo announced Xenoblade Chronicles X for Nintendo Switch, there are just a handful of Wii U games left stuck on the system. Can you rank from what you would like to see most to least from what's left to make it over to Nintendo Switch? Thanks. I did, just to help us out, jot down a list of what is left. First party. So let me read this list. Star Fox Zero, Kirby and the Rainbow Curse, the 2 Zelda games, Wind Waker and Twilight Princess, HD versions of those, Paper Mario Color Splash, Yoshi's Woolly World, Game & Wario, NES Remix Pack, Animal Crossing Amiibo Festival, and Nintendo Land. Those were the notable ones that I saw.
These are terrible.
There's not a lot left.
So start from 10.
Well, I mean, what stands out to you here?
Well, let's forget the obvious Wind Waker and Twilight. Obviously, duh.
Okay.
I wouldn't mind Kirby and the Rainbow Curse. We were talking about DS games last week, and it just reminded me how much I loved the DS Kirby game, whatever it's called. No, I can't remember the name of it.
Canvas Curse?
Canvas Curse, thank you.
You would have to rework this game.
You would have to rework it so that there is no...
How would you draw the stuff?
I guess you could draw with your hand.
But what on a TV?
Handheld only.
Ugh.
I don't know. Figure it out, Nintendo. Whatever. Figure it out.
Okay.
That one I really think would be a fun one. NES Remix Pack would not be bad either. Like, that's not bad. That was not a bad game. We got that on 3DS as well, I think, right? But I didn't mind that one. I guess it's kind of close to the World Championship thing that they did, which is kind of boring.
What if we did Star Fox Zero, but we reworked the controls to be not cuckoo? What if we did that? And it's just more kind of a more traditional Star Fox game.
Maybe.
And we kind of, we listen to the feedback. The controls are a bit more traditional. And who knows, maybe we added in like some other level, or we reworked the levels to take into account the fact that it is more traditional controls.
Okay.
I would be open to that.
If they did, yes.
I would be open to that.
If they did that, then that would be fine.
I think looking at this list, again, putting out the Zelda games, like that is maybe the best case scenario, because just Star Fox Zero as it is, no thank you.
Yeah, unplayable.
That game was
unplayable.
Really bad to
Truly
play.
Unplayable.
But if you just make it a traditional Star Fox game, maybe. Warm-up marketing for the next big Star Fox game?
Oh, the warm-up.
There's
some real stinkers on this list. Some real stinkers.
We're warming it up. We're warming it up to be a warm fart. That's what we're doing.
Ew.
All right, let's move on.
The real stinkers.
We got Bad Moon Horizon here. As remasters and remakes of games become more popular, why hasn't the idea of a recreate caught on? Kirby's Adventure as a 3D action game, Majora's Mask as a tower defense game, Mario Galaxy as an on-rails first-person shooter.
Oh my goodness.
Playing a remaster of a good game will of course be good, but I'd love to experience a game I love from a new and different angle.
I love this idea. This is brilliant.
What if somebody took a 2D Mario game but tried to convert it into a 3D game?
Right.
And the other way around.
What if
a 3D game into a 2D game?
What if Breath of the Wild becomes a top-down 2D Zelda game?
Oh. Well, they kind of did that. Remember that little prototype they had? They kind of did that.
But they just blow that out.
Sure.
Into a thing. Wouldn't that be fun? I think this is a great idea because, like, you do feel a little bit bad sometimes when you play a great game like Mario Galaxy, or you play like two great games like, set in like Tears of the Kingdom, Breath of the Wild universe, and you know that you will probably never go back to that universe again because Nintendo's going to move on, right? From that, like that engine or whatever it is. But like if they recreated it into a different type of game, or spun it off into a different genre, like that would be, I'm a this is appealing to me. I think this is a great idea.
Would that actually be fun though? It
Yeah,
sounds interesting, but if you took, like, again, Super Mario World, your favorite game ever, if they made that into a 3D Mario game,
I would play the heck out of that.
I think that could be good. It would obviously feel different, but I think that could be good.
Yeah, it could work really well if it was like that.
There's some game, I mean, like, you know, I'm going to say it, Metroid Other M did have this interesting, like, you were switching between a more traditional view and first
Oh
person.
yeah, yes, exactly.
Super Paper Mario had that same 2D, 3D kind of flipping thing.
Yeah.
Those games are not super beloved, but maybe if you commit all the way to one, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, Metroid did do this. Like, Metroid to Metroid Prime is this.
Yeah, exactly. I think it is like about the base universe that the game exists in, and whether or not that's an interesting place to be, in an interesting place for you to want to experience different things in. It's not like the actual game mechanic that made it fun, or the game genre that made it fun. It's that you want to exist in that world because it's cool. And like you would exist in that world no matter what that game style is. So I think it's just identifying what that is. Even like Splatoon.
Well,
They should spin that off into something where it's like a little bit, because that universe is so much fun. Like make a style savvy Splatoon game. I play that.
It feels like Nintendo's the company to kind of crack this, because the way they make the games is they come up with the gameplay idea and then they think later about, what should it look like, or should there be a character involved or not, versus like, I feel like other companies might just try and shoehorn, like, all right, we're putting this existing property and for some reason I want to make this genre of it, like, and it's like, are you kind of forcing a round peg into a square hole?
The other
versus Nintendo kind of more organically getting, because we heard that with Splatoon. It's like, we thought, like, are there other Nintendo IP that would make sense?
Yeah, no.
And it's like, no, we thought it's its own thing. Let's do that.
But now that they've created this like broad universe around this game mechanic, they also need to like let go of that game mechanic a little bit and step out of that box to be able to do something like this, which is like recreate something in that world. So it's almost like, yes, you have used your creativity of coming up with like a unique game mechanic to inform what this world is going to be like, but now you have to like release that and like open your mind to what else could exist in this world. Now I'm totally sold on my style savvy Splatoon game.
That'd be fun.
I think that would be so.
That'd be really fun.
You could be like the jellyfish guy, whatever his name is, or what's his name? Jalonzo. I'm like, Orlando. That's not it. It is Jalonzo. You're right. You can own the store and you could like purchase all the stuff.
Sounds
from
fun.
Inklings. You could do like Inkling fashion shows. You could dress the Squid Sisters or whatever for their shows. That would be such a fun game. Let's make that game.
Next Amiibo Festival, here we come.
That's not what that is.
Manchuck has the next question. Let's go back to more than a decade ago. You just finished your on-site interview and you're patiently waiting to hear back. Finally, after days, you get an email from Nintendo Recruiter that in this alternative timeline, unfortunately, it says,
"Oh no,
thanks for applying, but we move forward with another candidate." 2 questions. Where do you think you would have taken your career if you didn't get a job at Nintendo? What companies would you have explored? Different industries? How would Nintendo be a different place if you never worked there?
Whoa, this is a weird scenario.
If you never existed.
How
would the world be different?
What would your life be like if I never existed? It'd be so sad.
It'd be about the same.
Hey, it's not true.
Well, I want to hear your answer to this first, though.
I guess for me, it would be pretty polarizing for my life in general, because I never like my overall career goal at the time when I applied to work for Nintendo was not to work in games. Like I never thought that I could. Gaming was a hobby of mine. Obviously, I grew up playing Nintendo games, but I never thought to myself as I was going to college and thinking about my career options, like, I want to work in video games. At the time, I didn't even know like what marketing, what PR, communications, like what that job really was. So I do wonder if I would have, because if I didn't get that job there, I would have never have learned the thing that I do now. Like that would be really interesting, because I might be on a whole other career path in general. I had been studying to be I had wanted to be a lawyer at the time, so maybe I would have gone down that path. That sounds terrible, by the way. I wouldn't have enjoyed that. But yeah, I might have been in a totally different industry. I might have just kept gaming as a hobby if I never got the job at Nintendo. It wasn't like I was actively applying only to video game companies. I was just on a whim applied to Nintendo because I thought, hey, that would be a cool place to work because I love the brand. So yeah, I think my life would have been pretty different. Um, Nintendo as a different place if we never worked there. I mean, on the one hand, it's kind of like sometimes you have to come to the realization that like you're just a cog in a very big machine, and like whether or not your contributions would have made a huge difference, I don't know. Like I would like to think yes, but also I want to be a realist and think like if I wasn't there, would Nintendo have had all these successes? Yes. Would they have had the failures? Yes. So I don't think I was that important. I wonder if they would have had a Nintendo Minute. Maybe not, because we did very much like it was very personal to us and we pushed for that. I wonder if they would have taken some of the risks that we really pushed for, like with on the social side, on the content creator side. Maybe there would be another person like me that would have done that job, but I don't know if I was important enough to.
That's the truth. I mean, they would have been just fine either way.
Exactly.
Yeah, for me, I was in the industry and I had worked in a couple of companies before. I worked at Konami and then Bandai Namco, and there were a lot of people who kind of did this circuit in the industry of like cycling through all of these Japanese game publishers. So it's like Konami, Namco, Sega, Capcom, they were all in the area at that time. So it's possible that I could have, continued that circuit until, I really like latched on and found one. There was some stuff that was starting to happen at Namco around the time I was leaving that I didn't super love. So it is possible that I could have, moved on. But yeah, I think that's probably the most likely outcome is like I just find some other gaming company in the area and build a career there. The second question is hard. Like, yeah, I agree. Like you can't get to like this is a good like reality check of where it's like unless you are like a Miyamoto level, like one of one unicorn, like you are just part of this big thing, and that feels great. But there's a lot that just the company moves forward of its own accord, and in the last like 2 years before I left, something we did, we spun up this new department that was called original content. And that was something that Reggie was a big believer of. And he kind of empowered us to start that up and to be, to be doing things in that space. But pretty soon after we left, like that got shut down.
Yeah.
And there was just like, there's just like not interest in terms of the people who were still there and doing it. And they felt those resources could go to other things. So, I think that's just kind of the fact of, a lot of big companies is, again, unless you are this just like unstoppable force that is really driving like the core thing that the company does, like, yeah, things will be different, but I don't know how widely different the outcome big picture is.
I think we were really feeling that towards the end of our career at Nintendo, honestly. Like we felt very much like we've done everything we could. We've sort of like reached the end here, and it's like no matter what I do now, it wouldn't make a difference, so we left to do something that does make a difference. And like now it's like every decision that we make, everything that we do, everything that we put out there, like it's doing something for better or worse. And if we stop doing it, it will stop happening, for better or worse. So there is a direct impact there that was not possible when you work in a big, huge corporation like Nintendo, right, or any other corporation. So that is the trade-off.
Yeah. We got Noah-san next. Recently, we're seeing a lot of users migrate from Twitter to Blue Sky due to recent changes on Twitter/X. However, it seems most big brands and news outlets are still only on Twitter versus Blue Sky or Threads. As social media professionals, how long do you think it will be until the bigger brands like Nintendo move to the Twitter alternatives? Or what else would it take to make them transition to another platform?
You can cook on this one.
Well, on Twitter, Nintendo has like well over 10 million subscribers. And that's, a number that they have worked for a decade to get to. And it's like, the fact is, when you go to a new platform, it's like, yeah, you do have a new audience, but you're starting from zero. So the thought of like the equation that goes through your mind of like, do we abandon this place where there's problems, but we have this big following? Do we abandon ship to go to the other thing? Like, there needs to be a lot of chips on the side saying that you need to move versus wait it out and see what happens. And I'm sure they've done this analysis. And I think from their perspective, every announcement they put on Twitter still gets covered the exact same way. I'm sure they're still getting very high engagement on those posts. I think all the key metrics that they're seeing are that, things are going fine. Things are going at least as good as they used to. And it's like, yeah, it does feel like there's a tangible thing happening where in gaming, more people are moving over to Blue Sky. That's why we started our stuff over there, but we are still on Twitter because we do need to serve all those audiences. But yeah, for these big businesses like that is a big investment that they've made in growing these accounts. So you're seeing some being more ready to make the jump than others. Like a big one that I saw was, Katie over at Sega. She was just talking out loud and she's like, yeah, we probably will make a Sonic Twitter or a Sonic Blue Sky account because we're seeing a lot of our fan base move over here and we need to represent them. But yeah, if you're Nintendo and you're a bit more like black and white and looking at things, it's not really moving the needle for you.
Yeah.
It is interesting though, so a lot of the stuff I follow on these channels, I follow video games and I follow sports. Those are mostly the things I follow. A lot of the video game people have moved over. Most of the sports people have not. And like, I look for them on Blue Sky, they're just not there. Yeah. So there is something that's specific about, certain communities wanting to make the jump more than others that I find pretty interesting.
I agree. I feel like I follow video games and I follow just like general like pop culture news. And like, it's only the video game stuff that's moved. Like all the pop culture stuff, it's still represented very highly. And I think it's, still only on Twitter. So right. I don't know. And even the video game stuff that's moved, the message is always the same. It's like, we are on both channels still. Yeah. We're not shutting down the Twitter. Right. We're just doing both now, which is what we're doing. Yeah.
And Nintendo's going to have a long-term view of it. And this happened, when Threads first came out and there was a big push for Threads. Everyone's like, oh my gosh, you got to be on Threads. You have to do it. Everybody has to be on it. And then Threads kind of petered out. And now like Nintendo actually looks like they made the right decision by not bothering with Threads. So I'm sure they're like, well, what's going to happen with Blue Sky in 6 months, in a year? We're in no rush, to start from zero on a new platform when we've already got, 13 million people here. So, let us know what happens in 6 months.
Yeah. Or even longer than that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Last question is from Record Rumble. Has the NOA team ever purposely not advertised an extremely limited edition of a video game or gotten any say in increasing or decreasing units of a special edition that they predict or know will be popular?
They're extremely bad at this. They're notoriously bad at this. They guess and they always guess wrong. They always guess too low, but it's always like you don't want to risk having it sit on the shelf.
That's the worst thing is having too many. That's the worst thing.
The Amiibo, the Amiibo Festival Amiibo was a real like hard lesson learned, and ever since then they've been very like shy about ordering too much stuff. They do. We always used to tell them to like, we can't market this heavily. Like, it's going to sell out immediately. The pre-orders are going to be a mess, and people are going to be mad. And they would always push us to market it. And we're like, no, we can't do it.
That was always a conundrum for us because
always a fight.
Like, we would like to do it, on Nintendo Minute specifically. It's like, well, we'd like to do an unboxing when we get the samples. But by then we'd usually heard like, yeah, this is already like sold out.
Totally
so it's like,
sold out.
Well, we're not going to do it then because this is just going to upset people.
Yeah.
The majority of people who watch this video can't get the thing. So what is the point?
Right.
But yeah, they're trying to thread the needle in terms of, we want this to sell out. Obviously it's a high priced item. So we do want to sell as many as we can, but that's the worst thing. If like a special edition that's on discount is like, it's kind of a sad thing.
That's really sad.
Where it's like, this is this premium,
it's not a good
hard
look.
To get, sought after item. It is better for it to be harder to get than too easy to get.
Exactly.
So it's tough.
Yeah, it is very tough.
Yeah. Thank you to everybody who sent in a question.
Wow. Great stuff. All right. Should we wrap up this amazing episode by shouting out some Patreon wonderful community members?
Let's do it.
Okay. Let's start with our final boss, Aaron Hash.
Aaron Hash has informed us the NASCAR season has come to a close,
You
and
have
I'm the
won
winner.
somehow.
My avatar, Joey Logano, has won.
Oh,
You have lost?
My Tyler Riddick has really
You have lost.
has lost. It's very sad for me. But anyway, that was a fun little new thing that we've never
That's right.
experienced before. I loved it. All right. Superstars. Ben Eichhorn.
You can keep reading.
Mara Mayhem. Eigenverse. Kiss My Flapjack. Mike Chin. Roy Eschke. Switching it up _ VGM Life. Link, the hero of wins. Angela Bycroft and her pig Molly. Take it away.
Thomas O'Rourke, Kyle LaBeouf, Roberto Nieves, Frederick Wolf Conradson, Andrew Uhas, Chili, Simon, Crushuri, Master Discord, Ash, Ajay Kundlis, and 40 Gig.
Wow.
We were
Wonderful.
going to ask Angela Bycroft if she could dress up Molly like Snoutlet, but then we
But now
realized Snoutlet
we just
sucks,
like
so we take
Snoutlet.
it back.
Molly is Molly. Molly's so much better
Yes.
than Snoutlet.
Seriously.
Yes. Serious.
Molly DLC, please. I'll start off the one-up club.
Okay.
Aaron Burgundy, Adcool 2000, Ale Alejandro, Astro Dev, Awesome 46, Bates, Benji B, Biggin Gamer with a Y, Bookham Dano, Brad SF56, Brandon Kavapel, Brent Dennison, Brovac Novak, Bruce Stash, Cameron, Chadir, Chelly Squirrel, Crispy Saurus, Christopher Lay, Captain Alex, C Roper 17, Dallas E, Doxson, Doinko, Eccentric Tony, Echo Ladare, Elite Peach, Espars 50, Fart Priest 69, Fairbound, Fernie and Jess Forever, Fox Deploy, Funky Han, Garth the Wolf, Gartooth, Guilty Phoenix 42, Handheld Gamer, Happy Sloth, I May Have Made a Mistake, Iris Marin, Jay Rando, Jack Hoving, Jameson Eisenberg, Jeffrey Hernandez, Joe Encarnacion, Jonathan Rowe, Jordan Collette, Jordan Hemmerly, Joshua Clements, Juji Fruit, Justin Lemminger, Kawa2796, Keith Kwan, Kevin Delane, Kilo Kibo, Christorati Kid, Christopia Party With Me, Kyle Gamer Barry Rookie, Kyle Kretzer. Wait, did I go again? No.
No.
Kyle Kretzer, Lazy Cat for Coffee, Lex, Link9898, Lil Mikey, Lit, Luigi 53, Lynn, and off you go!
Macho Potato, Mad Dog 5981, Magnificent Easy G plus Callie Marie, Mako 56K, Mario Man 392, Marky Man 64, Maverick Nate, Mecha Dragon 101, Megan, Michael Cravens, Mikey, Mr. Ryan 07, Motomania, Mr. Andy Pond, Mr. Beans and Dip, MSN Poke Gamer, Mytran, Nasir, Naif E, Ninja 11, Pangy, Patrice Millette, Paul, Gale Network, Prime Factor, Prince Charmless, Raver, Rain Tech, Random Bystander here, Record Rumble, Ryuji Utsuho Oku, Riot 1, Rob, Romsky 113, Rox, Ryanetta, Sharif Jackson, Shinreal, Schmiggles, Slowbro, Snazzle, Spacey Poo, Spicy Munchkin, Steel Citron, Pseudo Priest, Tales of Link, Tay120 and 64, Teal Fox 64, The Kegers, The Shark Among Men, Thomas Alvarez, Three Rivers, Timmy V, Tor Cheeks, Totally Joed, Travis Torline, Trajowie, Tugs Puppy Bear, Tuskube, Tyler Geis, Uncle Jungle, Video Game Stupid, Vitchmictor, Viridian, VirtualBot, WG Grizzy, YU, Wicked Davy, Bull Johnson, Zalgaroth, Zapatty, Zero Link, and Zroid.
Well done.
Wow. Wow.
We usually don't do this, but next week we're going to have a cool episode on the 10th anniversary of Amiibo.
Wow.
10 years is going to have passed since Amiibo was
so
first
crazy.
out. We were there. We've got some cool stories to share. We're going to be looking back on that.
Yes.
So many anniversaries.
A lot of anniversaries. Got DS anniversary, Amiibo anniversary. I guess a lot of things happened 20 years
Wow.
ago and 10 years ago.
Yeah.
There you go. Anyhow, if you would like to join us on patreon.com/Kit and Krysta, you can help keep all of this great content going, and you get a ton of exclusive content, including early access to our podcast. You get bonus Q&As where we have the juicy Q&As and all sorts of cool stuff. So join us, won't you?
Yes, and if you're watching on video on YouTube, you can go ahead and subscribe to this here YouTube channel. Give this video a thumbs up and leave us a comment. And if you're listening on audio, you can also subscribe, give the podcast a 5-star rating, and leave a written review if you please.
And we're on the socials. We are on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, Blue Sky,
Threads.
and
What?
Threads.
Wow.
Not Blue Threads. Blue Threads.
That's a new one.
No, that's a new one. It's like blue jeans.
It doesn't exist.
Yes. All right. That is all.
Signing off.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.